Hi and welcome to another video. Today's video we're going to go through a maths topic called position. Now position covers all sorts of things from grids, axes, quadrants and also compasses, and that's what we're going to go through today. I hope I've tried to push my microphone a little bit further away because I did hear from the last video that people thought the sound of my breathing was a little bit creepy. So taking that into consideration, and I'll see how I go. I'm trying to get this red button away. Okay, let's see how we go. Okay, so compass directions. What do I mean? Obviously, you've heard of a compass. We're going to go through sort of how it works, how a compass works, and then how to use a compass. So, today's lesson, we're going to understand how to read a compass on maps using the points of a compass. And you'll know you get this if you can recognize the purpose of a compass, the 8 different points of a compass, and basically how to use those points to provide yourself directions. What's a compass used for? Where might you use it? Well, most of the times compasses are used for people who are exploring, going out, sort of walking, sort of trying to discover different things, and might not be able to have the technology available to them. But everyone's got a compass inside their phones these days with Google Maps and things like that. So a lot of times directions would be where you use it. When might you use it? Well, obviously when you're trying to get somewhere. Who would use it? I guess anyone could potentially use it, from your average bushwalker to somebody who's trying to develop different maps and things like that. Um, and why might you use it? Well, usually to see where you're going or to give someone directions of where they should go. How does a compass work? So there's a dial in the middle here which points to north, and that dial always points to north regardless of where you are. And that magnetic needle can go anywhere they want. But the dial always goes to north. So the compasses have been 2,000 years, and that's how they would have found Australia and all those other things, and mapped those different places. Wherever you stand on Earth, the compass will always point to magnetic North Pole, and we're going to talk about where magnetic North Pole is. Okay, so magnetic North seems a little bit confusing, but inside the Earth, there's basically a huge magnet. Okay, and there's two sides of the magnet. There's the north pole of the magnet and the south pole of the magnet, which you've heard of the north pole and the south pole, obviously, which aren't directly as up and down as you'd expect. The Earth's slightly tilted, okay, which you kind of know that. The axis is slightly on a tilt, which also affects the seasons and which areas are hotter and colder. Now, that tilt means that south and north aren't exactly up and down, they're kind of skewed a little bit that way. And what's confusing is that when you look at it, the South Pole and North Pole are at opposite ends of where they should be. The South Pole's up here and the North Pole's down here. But that's because, well, it is the opposite. North Pole is still up at the top. But the reason why they've done it like this is because when you have two magnets that meet each other, the north side of a magnet can't actually join to the north side of another magnet. When they do that, they actually repel each other. So by putting the south up the top, what would be magnetic north pole, the south is facing the top, is because that's the way they do the magnet, so that the north side actually is attracted to it. Effectively, you can't have two norths connecting to each other, and you can't have two souths, which you guys know when using magnets, and you kind of have that pushback. So it looks like that. So that means that wherever you are, your compass already, that little dial has a slight magnet in it, and that is always going to be pointing to where directly magnetic north is. Not exactly straight up the North Pole, but magnetic north, which is slightly askew, which ends up somewhere in Canada. So that's basically where it is. Your compass always wants to slightly be trying to connect to where it finds that magnetic North Pole. Okay, so that's how magnets work. What are the four different points of a normal compass? We have north, east, south, and west. But normally we're like this: north, south, east, west, north, south, east, west, because north and south and east and west are opposites. But the way you would remember it is to read clockwise, like you would a normal clock. And there's two different ways of remembering the rhyme that would go with it. One of them is naughty elephant squirt water. I've never heard of that. I saw this, I was like, nobody ever taught me that in school. The one we got taught in school is never eat soggy Weet-Bix. Never eat soggy Weet-Bix. That's how we got taught, which is crazy because soggy Weet-Bix are awesome. So I don't know why people are telling you not to eat them, because they're pretty good. Anyway, you can come up with whichever one you want to use for that one, but never eat soggy Weet-Bix would be the main one that I would use. But then we have more of these points. So the north, east, south, west one is basically like a stage 2 sort of level of maths. But now we move on to the 8 different points. So we have northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. They're actually not that hard to remember, these ones. These ones get a bit trickier. The way I would tell you to remember it is you would always put in front of it, with these points, north and south. The north or south name would always go first before the second name. Okay, so you're never going to get east, north. North and south are the two main ones, north and south. Remember, magnetic north, magnetic south. So they're always going to have their name before the other name. Okay, so if something is slightly to the side of north and it's halfway in between north and east, it would be northeast, not east north. North always would come first. And if it's down the bottom and it's sort of between south and east, then we call it southeast. And if it's between south and west, down here, it's not west south, that would make no sense. It's southwest, and then here we have northwest. Which you probably would have heard these things. Like when I hear everyone talk about where we are, they always talk about southwestern Sydney. See, I live in Western Sydney, but when we talk about where we live, in like where we are in Denzer Park, you'll always hear them talk about southwest Sydney. So that's southwest. So the north or the south comes first, and then whichever the direction is, that's where you call it. It's when you get over here, it's a little bit trickier, okay? Because then we have these 8 points, and then it's if you put directions in the middle of each of these ones, what would you call them? So it ends up being between north and northeast would be north northeast, and between east and north becomes east northeast, and then it's east southeast, south southeast, and those sort of ones. You don't really need to know these ones. I would say if you can just learn these ones, then I think you're doing really well. So let's not worry too much about these ones. I just want to make sure that people make sure that you're using the north or the south firstly before they're using the other direction, okay? Because you will be tested on that. Okay, so let's use it to see how much we actually know. Okay, so that says if you were standing in the aquarium, which direction would you walk? So if we're standing in the aquarium here, and we're trying to get to the lion enclosure, which is here, which way would we go? Now, I'm going to try and see if I can find my map that I wanted to use. Let me just go back for a second. I didn't actually get it yet. Okay, let me quickly go and find you how I would, if I didn't have a compass on me. Like let's say this one, you don't have a compass. How can you remember in your head which directions they are so you don't get confused and think that east is one way and west is the other way? So if you type in Australian map and have a look at here, this is one of the ways that I actually use in my own head when I'm trying to remember which way is which. When I'm looking at a map, I know the Western Australia is on that side here, and I know that South Australia is down the bottom and Northern Territory is up the top. Okay, they're the main ones that I kind of use as an idea if I do forget which direction's which. So if Western Australia is always on this side, then anyone that's always walking that way is always going to be walking west. And anyone who's walking up to the Northern Territory would always be going up, and South Australia is always down the bottom, so that part's always south. Don't worry too much about these ones. Let's go back to what we're talking about, and we'll see if that will help us. Okay, if you were standing here, which way would you walk to get to the lion enclosure? Well, pretend if I'm standing in New South Wales and I have to go to Western Australia, I'd be going that way, so I'd have to be walking west. If I was here and I was going to Orangutan Oval, that's straight down. If I picture Australia, south, or the South Pole. South Pole's a great one as well, so I'd have to be walking south. And if I was going to the restaurant, which is here, see, the thing is that you probably get away with saying you're going to walk east, but technically I would be saying you're walking kind of diagonally down. So we're not going to say east, south. We're going to start with the south part. So I'd say we're walking southeast downwards to get to the restaurant. Let's try one a bit more tricky. See how we go. Okay, the animals from Maptown Zoo have escaped. Can you use the clues to find out which animal should be in which square? Okay, so if we're standing in Maptown Zoo, the lion is in the northwest corner. Okay, so let's grab the lion, and if it's north, then we know it's up, and if it's west, going to like Western Australia or something like that, then we're going to go to west. The zebras are on the eastern side of the zoo. So if we've got the zoo here and they're on the east, now east is going this direction, so we're going to drag it to the east. The crocodile is directly east of the lions. Well, let's go to the lions, and east of the lions, and then directly east means that whatever that would be, the crocodile is directly to the east, to this side of the lions. The seals are in the southeast corner. Okay, so let's go here, southeast. So we know south is down, and we know Western Australia is that way. So east must be this direction, so southeast must be diagonally that way. The orangutan, sorry, the penguins are directly west of the seals. So we go to the seals, and west is this direction, so we just put them straight there. The orangutan is southwest of the crocodile. So southwest of the crocodile. Okay, so south is down, west is across, so southwest must be that direction. The fish are south of the orangutan, so the fish is south is down, so we'll go there, and the rabbit is north of the zebra, so we go to the zebra and we go up. So you can see clearly here, we've got northwest here, northeast here, southeast here, oops, sorry, and southwest down the bottom. Sorry, I got a bit all over the place here. There we go. Okay, so that's basically the idea of how a compass works with the south, southwest. Just remember, if I go back to the top here, about what the learning intentions for the lesson were, it was to recognize the purpose of a compass, so giving people directions, knowing where things are in comparison with each other, to identify the 8 points. So you need to be able to know north, east, south, west, and also be able to know the in-between ones, that the north or the south one always comes first before the secondary one. And if you're good enough to learn all, I think it would be 16 points of the compass, then that would be great as well. So I hope you've learned something today. Tomorrow we're going to look at how we can then give directions from Adenza Park and tell people where some of the landmarks around our area would be in which direction. Okay, hope you enjoyed the video and complete the worksheet which is attached. Thanks.